Hello, everyone. This is Professor Jeff Wilkerson at Luther College once again, talking to you about what you can see in the night sky. This time for the week of November 2nd, 2020. We're going to focus on, and we're going to look at the region of Taurus, and particularly the Hyades and Pleiades star clusters in Taurus here. Before we talk about those, let's introduce or reintroduce. We may have already mentioned it in a previous video, the idea of when it's good to observe certain objects in the sky. And this is a concept that we've talked about quite a bit in the first half of the astronomy course this fall. And so the students in the course should be pretty familiar with this idea by now. We've worked with constellation charts and other aids in finding things in the night sky in order to think about this. But if we think about the orientation of the sun and its orbit around the Earth and its orbit around the sun, at some point we can always draw wherever it is, we can always draw a line that connects the sun and the Earth. It's day in this half of the Earth, and it's night on this half of the Earth. And in fact, as far away from the sun as you can get in the sky is what's over here, objects right here. And so we say that the line that connects north to south directly overhead is called the meridian. So wherever you are, you have a meridian line that connects north to south directly overhead. Objects that are here, as far away as they can be from the sun and the sky, are on the meridian at midnight. That midnight's as far away from the sun as we can get. We play games with our clocks with standard time and daylight savings time and so on. And we're not all centered in our time zones. And so there's nuance to this that we're just whitewashing over. We're just not going to worry about it right now. Roughly speaking, things that are on the meridian at midnight are as far away from the sun in the sky as you can get. You know, maybe whether that's 11 p.m. or 1 a.m. or somewhere in that range, somewhere near midnight for you. And so we say these things are, on the meridian at midnight. If it's an object in the solar system, a planet, an asteroid, or whatever that might be, we would say it's at opposition out here. Mars was at opposition a couple of weeks ago when it was in the news. So we talk about things being in opposition away from the sun here. But one of the reasons this is interesting is things that are near the meridian at midnight, let's say it that way, things that are near the meridian at midnight are up for as long as they're going to be in the night sky. So if you have a great chance to observe them, and if you're an evening person and you're out in the evening observing the night sky, you'll see these objects rising in the east and have a chance to see them. If you're a morning person and you're out early in the morning before sunrise, you'll see these objects settling into the west over here, depending a little bit on where they are. If they're far enough south, for those of us in the mid-northern latitudes, if they're far enough south, they may disappear sooner, rise later, and disappear sooner. But that's the general idea. This is where they're going to, however much time they spend in the night sky, this is where they're going to spend the maximum amount of it, and you have your best chance to observe them. So we like to think about objects that are going to be near the meridian at midnight for us to go out and observe. And thus we get to Taurus. Taurus is getting pretty close to this. So about the middle of the week that we're looking at, the week of November 2nd, Taurus will be on the meridian about 12:30 in the morning for me, for those of us here where we are in Iowa with our clock. Well, we will switch the clock back to standard time this week. So we're talking about shortly after midnight for us. Taurus is going to be on the horizon. So that means when I go outside shortly after dark, 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock, I can see the Pleiades star cluster rising into the night sky. So it's a fuzzy little patch. So you look to the east just after dark, and you see this beautiful star cluster that's clumped right there. There's a fuzzy sort of patch. You can see the individual stars. Most people can see 6 individual stars. Maybe you can see 7 individual stars of the brightest stars that are in there. There are about 100 in the cluster. So this is a group of stars. We've talked about open star clusters before. I like to talk about open star clusters. Group of stars that was born out of the same cloud of gas at the same time. They're relatively young. Pleiades is a young star cluster, one of the younger ones around. and one of the closer ones around. So that's why we see it as a big bright patch in the night sky. If you have a pair of binoculars, great object for a pair of binoculars. You see a lot of individual stars. Sometimes I like to go out with binoculars. I've been doing it forever, and I still like to go out with binoculars, look at the Pleiades, and just kind of look at all of the stars that are in that region and maybe count them and see how many stars I could see and kind of identify the patterns of the stars within that grouping. The Pleiades is related to this V of stars over here that is the Hyades. And the Hyades is another open star cluster. It's even closer, and it's a young star cluster too. So it doesn't look nearly as rich as the Pleiades. It doesn't look like this dense ball of stars. It looks pretty spread out to us here. So we see this spread out V of stars, and this bright star right there is Aldebaran. And Aldebaran, big bright orange star. So when you look just after dark to the east or just before sunrise to the west, as I was looking at it this morning, that you can see the V of the Hyades with bright orange Aldebaran right there. Now, Aldebaran, we have many, many stars that start with Al. These are names that come to us in English from Arabic, and Al being the. So this we can translate as the eye of the bull. And so this is the eye of the bull that is the Taurus, the constellation we're looking at here. Now, in the week of November 2nd, what's going to happen, and maybe just a little before that, is the moon's going to slide through here. The moon's just past full. It'll be full in the weekend before this, and it's just past full, a waning gibbous moon. And on the 1st of November, the moon's going to be over here under the Pleiades. And as it gets a little bit less full the next night, the 2nd of November, really worth going out and seeing on the 2nd of November, I think, the moon is going to be sitting right next to Aldebaran. And so you want to see that beautiful pairing on November 2 of the moon and Aldebaran right there together in the sky. By November 3rd, the moon has moved way out here someplace. It's still in Taurus. This is the rich part of the stars of the constellation where we see most of the stars. And it'll still be in Taurus by November 3rd, but it's moving on past Taurus and heading out of Taurus. And out that direction is the Craft Nebula, but that's a story for another time. So for this week, I really recommend going out, taking a look at the Pleiades star cluster, the Hyades star cluster, and watching the moon slide through there, and particularly November 2nd as the moon and Aldebaran, a bright orange star, make a wonderful pairing. And so this is what I got for you this week. I hope you have a chance to go out and enjoy the night sky. And as always, I enjoy being able to bring you some ideas of things to look at. Have a good week, everyone.